Are you looking at the same agenda?
There's 4 items on there.
Yeah, well.
Okay. Are we good to go?
We're live. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Fabulous.
Welcome to our reoccurring TELx Council meeting. These reoccurring meetings provide several critical functions for our governance, provide transparency to our community, create structure for our forum, provide authors the ability to present their proposals to the council and community, allows the council and community to review, debate and refine these proposals so they can get to a place where we have consensus and mutual understanding, provide a medium for regular TELx ecosystem updates, ensure consistent communication between council members and the community, allow the community to directly engage in Q&A with the council members. The TELx Council is a local governance organisation with authority over and duties towards TELx operational rules, system, health and social wellbeing. Overview. Accepts, develops and votes on TELx IPs to change or introduce new elements to TELx, to alter TELx harvesting rules, and is responsible for generally representing the interests of and informing their constituency in matters pertaining to TELx. Duties. The TELx Council is required to 1. Plan, finance and coordinate implementation of improvements to 2. Regulate the flow of TEL issuance throughout TELx to be harvested by liquidity miners. 3. Introduces, alters and enforces TELx operational rules, including harvesting, information and communication, maintenance and construction. 4. Informs miners of the activities and outcomes related to TELx and results from any snapshot votes. These snapshot votes are a requirement for all council members, and in order for a proposal to move forward, there needs to be a 5 of 6 majority vote, and all 6 members voting within 5 days from the start of it being posted to snapshot. Okay, so the first item I have on the agenda is for Uniswap v4 hook and migration updates. Is that going to be you, Marcus, for a quick update for us?
Yes, I believe so.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Tim. So we are flying along right up against our elections here, which begin in a week. And so the pretty massive updates for the final stretch here. So the first place to start would be that the audit has officially concluded as of about an hour ago. And so the auditors had, all in all, let me pull it up for over here. I believe it was 7 findings. Almost all were informational here. So this is the wrong audit. And I lost the link. No, here it is. Okay, sorry.
Are you sharing? Are you sharing, Marcus?
I am not, but I can. I was just gonna read over this.
Okay. No, I just wondered if you were thinking it was coming up on the screen. It's not.
No, I just need to look at this. I've got like 4 different things. Right now I'm working on the front end, and I'm not a front end developer, so that, excuse me if I'm a bit scattered. But so yeah, this is okay. So I said 7. It is 11. So 11 findings here. A couple of them were related to code factor, sort of just cleanliness, performance. So 2, 3, 4, 5 of those 11 findings are informational. And 2 are gas optimizations. So that's 7 of the 11. 1, 2 are low. And then we have 1 medium and 2 mediums. Excuse me. No. It is 1 medium and 1 high. Okay. Sorry. So 5 informationals, 2 lows, one medium, one high, and then some gas optimizations in there. And what's interesting actually is that the high vulnerability is related to a just-in-time donation ability. No, that's not accurate. Excuse me, I'm like, okay, so the high here, I'm looking at it, it is related to a denial of service is what it is. So the Uniswap v4 hook here accepts any caller who has no current subscriptions and inserts the owner into the global subscribe list. So essentially, I'll describe this really quick. It's a little bit technical, so it's not that important. But what was possible with the hook, which is not yet deployed, is that the EVM has certain storage constraints when dealing with arrays. And in order for LPs to opt into the rewards program, they have to quote unquote stake, which in Uniswap terminology is subscription. They have to subscribe to sort of opt into the program, which happens on the TELx UI, which I'm working on. And so the subscription action then needs to sort of store their subscribed status on chain. So we do have to work with an array, and within arrays on the EVM, there's always a constraint where you cannot allocate enough memory. So all arrays in Solidity are inherently constrained. And so there was an implementation that I put in, which is a maximum. And currently the maximum is the 50,000 subscribing addresses, so 50,000 LPs. Which is right around a little bit under the memory allocation limit for the EVM. So it's pretty sizable. However, the finding here notes very aptly that somebody would be able to join the program, basically subscribe and lower their sort of their effective balance, like their liquidity provision balance to zero, and quote unquote park in this maximum subscribed array, and thereby denial of service other new LPs from joining if they, for example, did it with 50,000 addresses. So that would be pretty expensive to do. You would spend a lot of gas submitting multiple transactions for each address, but it is theoretically plausible, and so this was the most significant finding of the audit. And actually the solution was relatively simple. So I wrote here, great observation, a cheap way to denial of service the subscribed storage array against its max value is undesirable. To remediate, I implemented a minimum liquidity requirement. So new and existing subscriptions must meet a minimum liquidity requirement. And that liquidity requirement is checked every time the position is updated. So it's kind of like, position is being updated, is it in the subscribed array? If so, enforce this minimum liquidity requirement, and therefore, so if it drops below it, remove it from the subscribed array to make room for other people, so nobody can denial of service other LPs participating in the program. Again, this is, if we reach 50,000, but the minimum liquidity requirement itself is set. They were recommended to set a fixed number, but that wouldn't work because a fixed sort of like liquidity unit value, it could represent widely different, like dollar values or economic values across different pools, right? Liquidity units for TEL is very different from liquidity units in USDC EMXN. So if the auditor's suggestion would have worked, but it would have meant that we would have to keep tabs on, well, for TEL, the liquidity units can be less because ETH and TEL are worth a lot, but for USDC EMXN, the liquidity units would be less. And so instead what I did was I set the minimum liquidity requirement to be 1 bips of the pool's total liquidity. So for any given pool, in order to maintain your subscribed status, you need to maintain the 1 bips of the pool's total liquidity. And then of course, pools with less than 10,000 liquidity units, which is quite on the small side, very small. If the pool is that illiquid, then we want liquidity. Anybody who subscribes will be accepted. And I can link, well, I've already been way too technical, sorry. So that was the main finding for the audit. All the fixes as of an hour ago have been acknowledged, accepted, and greenlit from the auditors. So I went ahead and deployed the pools, which means that we are now only waiting on the front end to be completed. And Khalil and I were up late last night talking about this. A lot of this is new for him, and the developer learning curve is very steep for V4, and it's also new, so there's very little material out there to sort of like draw on. So given that and our meeting, I did sleep, but not as much as I should have probably. You can maybe tell, but so the goal, the plan of attack now is, I'm taking on the front end. I'm not a front end developer, so it might not look the most, but the main thing is that it will work properly. So
there used to be an old saying, Marcus, you can sleep when you're dead. So I'm not too worried about that. But thanks. I mean, I know. Looking at the emails, you and Khalil have been up most of the night doing this. So huge thanks on that front. Just one question you raised about the parameter settings. Did you actually find the settings that Leo had kind of recommended? Because I don't know if you've read my recent reply to you on the email, but I've been playing around with them and I'm getting a little bit of inconsistency that I just want to try and narrow down.
I have not seen the email. Let me check it. So you're talking about the weights, is that right?
Well, we don't need to cover it off here because it does get a little bit complicated, and I would like somebody else from the council to actually have a go. I don't know if anybody's done that yet, trying to play around with Leo's spreadsheet to adjust the weightings and see what difference that makes across the different pools. But long story short, I seem to be getting different outputs depending on which pool I'm in. I'm getting a different effect depending on the weighting. So I can go over that more offline with somebody if they want to kind of double check my findings. So before we do go live and bolt down these parameter settings, I'd like a discussion with the council and yourself and maybe Leo, just to try and resolve the problems that I'm getting or the pattern that I'm getting. I may be missing something, and that's why I want to check.
Absolutely. And I just got the environment variable I needed file from Josh, so that's fabulous. Okay, cool. I'm unblocked on the front end. That will be delivered. So talking to, yes, what you're saying is that's exactly great. That's exactly what we were hoping. With the addition of the weights, so the way that the weights will work, the fee growth numbers are Uniswap native. Those are fed in from Uniswap to the hook itself, and the hook does nothing with them. It just stores them. It says, hey, great, thanks Uniswap for the information. I will update this position with the fee growth that you tell me. So we know that those numbers are going to be exactly from the source of truth itself. And the weights, where they come in, and exactly the reason why I love hearing what you're saying is the weights will then be applied to those fee growth numbers. So we'll be applying them directly to what Uniswap the fee growth is, right? And you can sort of, for positions that are deemed to be just in time, you can weight them very low. You could even do 0, and then for active ones, maybe the position was changed on average once a day.
No, yeah. Can I stop you there? I understand that, but yeah. what I'm getting is the bias actually shifts depending on what pool you're in. If you're on the ETH, the base pool, then you get a certain outcome and a certain percentage of rewards going to passive and active. But then if you use the same settings and you move that to the poly pool and you do your analysis on that, the bias kind of swaps. So you still, the active people still get the share of the rewards, which is what we're trying to kind of stop with the just-in-time and the algo application. So yeah, I am getting consistencies. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, guys, like isn't that's done as part of the reward script though, right? Like I
Yes.
think Marcus, what you're saying is like the hook is built to pull and extract the information from Uniswap. From there, we take that information, it gets put into the reward script, and that's kind of where those levers are being pulled. To your point, Ty, on whatever percentages or weights we're going to put on that. That's going to all be done on the reward script, which is off chain.
The weights are stored on chain, so you guys will be able to manage it directly with the TELx safe. But the reward script will read them from the hook. So what Ty is describing, though, what you're talking about as well, is that is expected, right? So every period is going to be different. Every pool is going to be different, depending on the market participants. For example, I think in the Polygon Tel ETH pool, that's where the maximum sort of like active activity is happening, I believe. And in the USDC EMXN pool, I think is where there's most of the market participants are passive. So depending on how many people are active versus how many people are passive versus how much volume was in the period, it's going to be different, I think, every time. So that's roughly expected.
Is there just one set of parameters across all the pools, or can we tell it? So we can't tailor these weightings on a pool by pool basis. So we couldn't have one set of weightings for Polygon, one set of weightings for ETH.
Well, you could do it per chain. That is true. Yeah, but the hook like manages all supported pools. But there will be there are two hooks, right? There's one on Polygon, one on Base. So you can do it on a per chain basis, but not on a per pool basis, if that makes sense.
Oh, per chain. Okay.
Yeah. So that's totally, I think if you would want then to have certain weights on Base and then certain weights on Polygon, you can run the numbers through the Excel and figure out what configurations you like, and we'll execute those transactions to have the chain reflect your whims.
Oh, okay. I have another question then relating to this.
Yeah.
With the airdrop script that we've had up till now, we can look at the rewards before they're distributed and kind of have a first look at where things lie. With the way it works with the hook, we won't be able to see in advance where the rewards, or will we? Will we get a spreadsheet on, at the end of the period, at the end of the week, to kind of view before we issue the reward? So we'll still have a checkpoint prior to the distribution happening. Correct.
Yeah. So essentially, the one of the main, there's still two components here, right? We'll have the hook, and what's amazing about the hook is that it sort of replicates Uniswap v3 and v2 behavior, where the fee growth becomes readily available. In v4, without any hook, and without a fee tracking hook, the fee growth is extremely, it's a very involved effort to dig up. And so that's what the hook does for us. It digs that up for us, and it emits the data so that it's more readily available. And so what the reward script that Andrew mentioned is still in play. And the reward script, rather than recreating everything off chain, that now the hook is doing that part. So the hook makes the fee growth readily available by emitting events, and then those events now are available to the off-chain script, so it doesn't have to replicate a lot of the v4 behavior, and it will be pulling those values, and so that script will still need to be run, once a week, which means there will be JSON files and Excel documents that will be provided, same flow as before.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. Thanks, Marcus.
Absolutely, yes. And I wanted to mention too another thing. Part of the security audit, which Cantina led, they also audited the reward script, which they did. They audited the commit that wasn't yet. The hook hasn't been deployed, so the script isn't quite yet reading from the hook because the hook doesn't exist. Well, it has been deployed, but only as of today. So they were looking at a commit for the older script, the script that is not using the hook. And I'm happy to report that they found no issues with precision or with accuracy whatsoever. Their findings were limited to performance, and making sure that the script would complete running every time was one thing that was interesting. There would be certain edge cases where the script could just fail to finish. I hadn't run into that. And then, anyway, I didn't need to get too technical. So they did review the script though, and we got a stamp of approval on that. So that was really nice to hear. And then it will be even simpler going forward now that it will have the data it needs from the hook.
Okay, great.
So
So in a nutshell then, when can we expect to do the migration and show people how to do it?
exactly, that is my next priority. And Khalil and I were working on this last night, and so he's now gone to bed. So I am stepping in to work on the front end. It is not my best, making things pretty, not really something I'm spend too much time doing, but making sure it works on the other hand is the front end probably, I think I can complete it, I don't know, with I think maybe 12 hours or something. So that will be early in the morning for me, and that'll be when thank you, Derek. Yeah, exactly. And so I'll spend the next 12 hours trying to get it working properly. Part of it is I haven't worked with this code base before, so it's a little, I'm sort of like learning it as I go to, but that might not necessarily, so 12 hours from now, I think I'll have it working properly. It might not necessarily be the visual prettiness that Khalil will want to go to production with. So that'll be around the time that he wakes up and signs on. Our plan, I think, will be to hand off to him and let him, pretty up or organize, and then have it be live tomorrow, at which point users can begin migrating.
Okay, so if everything goes to plan, we could actually get instructions to migrate sometime tomorrow.
On that note, Tim, on the guide and all that kind of stuff, Julio sent an email out, I think it was yesterday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, with a link to the document that they're working on for the migration guide and all that kind of stuff. So I know Will had a chance to review it briefly. I think it was, maybe 24 hours ago. I had a chance maybe within the last couple of hours to kind of go through it and review it. So I provided my feedback to them already this afternoon. So we just got to go through it, make sure that all the information and details make sense and are accurate. And then once we get the new pool information with the hook address and all that kind of stuff, we could start plugging and playing with that information as well too. But it's, I would say, 90% done.
Okay. But realistically, it's probably not going to be for this next period. It's probably going to be implemented next week for the following period.
That's too late.
Excuse me.
In terms of what, you talking rewards, Tim? Because at this point, it's not really the rewards. I think is kind of on the back end. The more of the focus right now is on the voting and getting the migration done. So once the migration is done, and to Marcus's point, once we can get that functionality on the website done and connected, then we gotta push out that migration specifically for the voting aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
essentially, at the end of the day, today's what, Wednesday?
Yeah.
Ideally, we probably should have forethought about this, knowing kind of what we know now, and we probably could have stopped rewards for this period until the migration is finalized and completed, because once migration starts, the rewards are stopping for the temporary pools, and we're going to shift those rewards to the new pools.
Yeah.
Right? So let's call it, this is probably the last week for the old temporary pool rewards, and the new rewards are probably going to go and play once this migration starts.
Yeah, but it's the voting that we're concentrating on to try and get that done for tomorrow.
Well, as soon as possible, because that migration needs to happen, and everybody needs to remove their liquidity from the temporary pools, create their new positions while attaching the hook in the new pools, to then subscribe to TELx, to then have all that voting power or weight for, I think it's the 5th, to make sure that they are eligible before voting starts and the snapshot is taken.
Okay.
I think it's the 4th, Andrew. I think the snapshot's on the 4th.
Whatever the day is. Yeah, sorry, I'm driving right now, so I don't know the dates off by heart. But whatever the snapshot is, the point is that we want to try to give everybody as much time as possible to do the migration, get their subscriptions on TELx with their NFTs, so that they're in there ready to go by the time the snapshot is taken.
Right. Okay, so we're going to try and get some instructions out tomorrow, really, is what we're aiming for.
I don't want to commit to tomorrow. Let's as soon as we can, and I don't want to push it out too fast. I want to make sure that the information that we're putting out is accurate.
Okay.
Right. And if that goes to Friday, then it's Friday. Again, the sooner we can get it done, the better. But again, I want to, make sure that we're focusing on the content is accurate, the guide is good, as opposed to just getting it out as fast as we can.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And the 4th is Tuesday, the 5th is next Wednesday, so that's when we've got to get the voting done by.
Yeah, I think I'm gunning for tomorrow, but yeah, I appreciate the flexibility, so that everything.
I know we've got a couple of compliance guys on the call. Can we pause the reward? Can we stop the rewards? Because we are in a state of flux now, and we are in a state of migration. And I don't really think it's fair to anybody to have all the rewards still going to the old V3 pools, because in a way that discourages people from migrating. So can't we just say rewards will be stopped now on the V3 pools from, the last distribution was last Wednesday?
Ty, if I may, we talked a little bit about this today when it comes to marketing stuff this as well. So I just want to make it really clear for everyone that's listening on the call too. The plan is what's being discussed is how we're going to do voting power for these LP pools, and because there's a few questions that have come through. So what occurs is voting for minor seats right now, or they're in the current or old pools. We are working through a migration guide, which essentially will tell the community how to take your liquidity that's currently in these pools, move it to the new and updated pools. So that's step 1. Step 2 is then there will be we'll follow the voting guide of how to utilize your new LP position in the new pool on V4 to vote. So I want to break it down and really make it as simple as possible for everybody. Timelines and everything else and fees, I understand. What had been talked about previously was that when the new pool went active, that is when there would be the switch essentially when the V4 hook goes active, that's when the fee transitions. Now again, what's most important for this is we can work all that out, but I want to make it really clear the timeline for voting, because it's very important that everyone understands. Be on the lookout in the next day or two for the migration guides and us telling you, hey, this is what we need to do, and then after that we'll have instructions on how to actually vote. So I just want to make sure really clear.
So from that perspective, if that's the language that we're using in terms of the reward distribution transferring from the temporary pools to the new pools, it essentially happens when the new pools are created, right? Based on what language you just said, Derek. So if Marcus is telling us that those pools went live essentially today, then essentially that transition should happen today or whatever. If we want to say it's tomorrow, then tomorrow's fine, or Friday.
Right.
But then let's just prorate this transition week, and it could be, Thursday and Friday rewards are going to be for the old temporary pools, and starting on Saturday, the new pools are going to be in effect. Once we have a formal announcement on social media, then that's when, as of Saturday, rewards are formally transferred from the old pools to the new pools, and then it's done.
Right. When, Andrew, is really up to the TELx Council. I just wanted to make it very clear of the steps that are going to be happening with the community, because we're talking about a lot of different things. So I wanted to make sure that everyone is really, really clear. You'll see a migration guide At that point, we want people to move over so you have voting power. We will make everything square when it comes to the rewards as well. But there's a step-by-step here because it is a little bit complex as this is getting switched right before a voting period. So we just want to make sure people don't miss out on that opportunity. And then the TELx team, as I've seen some of these questions, the TELx team will essentially release some guidance on how that proration will work and when the effective date is, but that date is not decided on as of yet. That'll be determined internally, and we'll announce that at some point this week, a little later on after we get this migration guide out, and after Marcus and Grant, because they have a little more work to do tomorrow when Cleo gets up, and no more then.
So to be then, to incentivize the most people to try to get this done sooner rather than later, as soon as we make that social media announcement, like that is, to me, that is going to be the trigger of when rewards start for the new hooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game plan I think would be, is what I talked to Storm about and talk about, how we're going to push this out. We'll wait for Marcus and Grant. And again, Marcus, we know how hard you've been working on this, so we'll wait on that aspect, and we have everything prepared because that will shift timelines depending on how that is, and whatever that is, it's okay. We have a plan to get this executed, and I wanted to make sure that the community knew how this information was going to come out. Since there were some questions in the chat. So.
Brilliant. Thanks, Derek. And I guess the message now to everyone is watch this. You're going to get an announcement. Wait until the end, and we'll tell you what to do.
Yeah, all that information is going to be coming out, like Derek said, in the next couple of days. So I think once we are ready to go with all of that information, the content, the hook is good to go, all that stuff, let's make an announcement, and then that's the trigger of when rewards shift from the temporary pools to the permanent pools.
Great. Excellent. Thank you very much. And thanks, Marcus, for all your hard work.
Thank you.
I still have one question then regarding the timing of this. Not so much the timing, but the application of the weighting parameters, which is kind of fundamental to the way the rewards are distributed. Can these settings be implemented just at the period end, or have we got to decide on the weighting parameters before the hook goes live, Marcus? That's really the question.
Yes, actually, so there is an initial configuration that the hook is deployed with, but it's not really like no liquidity has migrated to the hook, so I can we can set those to be whatever you like from the get-go of the program on what is that, Wednesday. So I would say it would be best if you can do that, if you can decide on the weighting for when the sort of first period for the new hook starts. And then to answer your first question, I don't really have a problem with managing the configuration as often as you like. It's just a transaction that needs to be signed on the TELx safe. So I think I'll leave that up to you if you want to impose limits on how often it can be.
It's adjustable. It can be adjusted every week.
It can be adjusted multiple times a week. I don't know why you would do that, but yeah, yeah, exactly.
I don't think we should get into a cadence of adjusting it every week. Like Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong right now in terms of the parameters that are set, but it's 0 for just-in-time transactions. It's 20% for active, or whatever we're calling that, and then 80% was going to essentially retail or passive. Correct?
That is exactly correct. Yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, then my suggestion would be that let's leave those parameters in place for the first 4 periods. Let's collect some data on it, and then we can review and evaluate.
Yeah.
No, you guys need to look at Leo's spreadsheet, because the weightings don't result in the 20-80% that we're hoping for. You've got to drop the weighting down to 500 and 10,000.
If that's the case, if that's the case, Ty, let's book a meeting internally and let's go through it and then come up with a decision to Marcus's point.
Yeah, because we need. Yeah, I think I'm the only one that's played around, unless William has, or Mike has. I don't think anybody else is actually playing around with these weights yet.
I haven't had the time, so I'm sorry, but yeah, no, I haven't been able to look at that yet.
I'm just saying that the impact is quite noticeable if you do play around with the weightings.
This is good information. How are you classifying, I guess, the just in time versus active? Are you're looking at the modified liquidities, the spacing between the modified liquidity events, I guess?
On Leo's spreadsheet, if you change the weightings, then there's a percentage of distribution that goes to each of the three categories.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to look at the individual rewards. You just need to see if the weightings are X, then the percentages are A, B, C. If you change the weightings to a Y configuration, then the percentages change, and you can play around by altering the percentages. Sorry, by altering the weightings, you can then impact the percentages.
Yeah, I guess what I'm curious though is how is the classifications being done? I mean, if Leo created it, then I trust that it's accurate. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. I think you guys can put something internally.
I think once you see the spreadsheet and you start playing around with it, then you can see the outputs pretty clearly and the impact that each weighting has.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ty. To Andrew's suggestion, can we maybe have an offline chat on that?
Okay. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Anything more on the migration? We're just going to wait for instructions. Okay. All good with that? Great stuff. Okay. Moving on to the next slide on the agenda. TELx website and UI improvement. No, not you. So TELx website. How's it looking? Who's on the TELx?
Yeah, I don't know if it doesn't look like Halil's on there. But in terms of that, like the website looks like from a UX UI perspective is pretty much ready to go. I know from content wise, like the about section, all that kind of stuff Leo's looking at now. A lot of that information hasn't been updated in probably 3 years when, things kind of started launching for TELx. So a lot of the information that's in there that needs to be adjusted. There's also the aspect of the TELx University, which some of us are, in the process of just reviewing some of the modules and stuff like that now, again, to just confirm the accuracy. So we'll have, an announcement probably soon on when things are ready to go. It's just, for me, it's more just about making sure that the content is up to date when we do this formal launch, so that it's a little bit more professional and we're not just, setting out, just the UX UI update. It's actually the UX UI, it's the content, it's the university, it's kind of everything all in one. So
okay,
I would say more to come on that for the next call. But I know Ty and I have booked a meeting on November 3rd. And if anybody else wants to join that call to, discuss with Ermias and Julio about some updates on TELx University, then you're more than welcome to join that call. But the plan is just to go through the modules, review the content for accuracy, and then try to get things ready to be pushed out.
Okay, great. Thanks, Andrew. So again, watch this space and try and discourage people from actually trying to share things that aren't quite ready yet, because when things get shared around, we assume that it's not official until you get an official notification. There might be inaccuracies that Andrew said has been pointed out. Okay, so that's all cool. So really, I guess we want to talk on the actual elections themselves. What do we need to do? Have we actually got?
Yeah, so sorry, I lost you a little bit there, Tim. I'm not sure what exactly you said, but on the elections, I think it was just reiterating that, elections are coming up. We want to make sure that the migration happens, obviously, with the new Uniswap pools, but to make sure that people are ready to vote with, obviously, the existing balancer LPTs that they have for their voting weight as well. So again, part of that will come out again next week with more details about the migration. But another thing we wanted to do was also welcome a recent applicant in Eric and give him some time to kind of come up, go through his presentation, and then give the community a chance to ask any potential questions that they may have.
Okay, and that's now. We're going to ask Eric to come and say a few words now.
If he's available, then yeah, I know I was talking to Nick, and he mentioned he was going to be coming. So again, I'm just driving, so I can't see who's in.
Eric here.
So
Yeah, then,
hey guys, I'm here.
the floor is yours, Eric. Have a few words for us.
Hey, thank you very much. I do have a cold, and I'm actually on the couch right now for the past days, reading TELx stuff and other things. So my name is Eric. Actually, I'm from the Netherlands. Nick introduced me to TELx like, I don't know, 2 years ago. So I know Telcoin for a while now. Have been reading stuff all over the past few months. It was pretty scattered, so you also had a lot of UI changes I saw coming. So yeah, I've been in. I submitted an application just yesterday or the day before, I think. I have been into, for the people that haven't, yeah, there it is. Yeah, I have been basically living decentralized finance, DeFi, from late 2019, 2020. And I got a soft spot for basically decentralized finance in mechanics, building blocks, and yeah, just analyzing the mechanics behind it. From V2, V3, and lately I'm especially interested in Fluid, which created basically a liquidity layer with smart depth and smart collateral. So yeah, it's that's what and I think you guys have a great organization. As far as I can judge it now, I have to really read up on things and talk some more with Nick also. But yeah, excited to join this. I've been on a few council meetings before. I remember one that was very, very long, like 2.5 hours or so. So I did it on speed. But nah, it's I have a judicial background, so I am I'm used to having long conversations. I also worked in IT after being a legal manager, and learned to be agile. Worked a bit with the Scrum technique, well, mechanics at its way. So yeah, I think I have a bit of a combination of. I don't like too much talking. I want it to be productive. Yeah, in the end, you gotta deliver stuff. So yeah, it's a bit of who I am and what I think I can bring to the table also. Okay. I heard Marcus talk now and also the before. I think he's a really smart guy. I understand, like, I think 80% of what he's saying. I'm not a dev. I'm not technically schooled, but I have learned to basically understand some code correlated to mechanics and the tokenomics and stuff like that. Okay. So yeah. That's me. I didn't know if I had to make a presentation or maybe do it.
You're fine. You're fine.
No.
Absolutely.
Ah, cool.
No, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Eric, and welcome. Is there anyone who has any questions or even suggestions for Eric?
I just want to say that Eric, I've known Eric for a while. He's a great guy, and he has a big passion for DeFi. So he talks my ears off about certain things, and I'm just like he goes over my head, the DeFi stuff, a lot of it, but he's very passionate. He's always checking out all of the ones that are coming out. He's in and out. He knows his way all around it. He knows everything about it. So I think he's a fantastic asset to have for TELx, and he will bring. And he's very careful as well. He doesn't like rushing into things, and he wants to make sure everything is done properly because he's seen it all. He's been through the highs and the lows of DeFi, so he's very experienced in that matter. So he'll have a huge feedback, and I'm really, really happy that Eric, mate, I'm really happy that you put an application in, because we're all trying to go to the next level with the association and with the TELx and with the network and everything. So I'm excited. I know you anyway, so I'm excited for you to get on board, and you're going to get on great with these guys.
Thank you, Nick. That's a great endorsement, and I'm
Thank you.
Eric, you're raising the game already, especially given some people like me. You're way over my head too. So good luck. Anyone else, or can we?
Yeah, just a quick one. What time is it in the Netherlands at the moment, Eric?
It's 8:45. I'm actually 1 hour behind Nick in the UK. I think a lot of guys are here from UK, right? No more guys. I love the accent, by the way.
I'm in New Zealand, so it's Thursday morning for me here. But yeah.
Oh my God.
So
yeah.
this time is good for you. That's really what I'm trying to establish.
Yeah. This time is perfect for me. And I was actually listening to the discussion before. If I have one question, that if you're migrating from the current vaults to the V4 vaults, is it what is the English word? Do people have to? They have to migrate, right? It's not an option. They have to migrate.
We have to migrate from V3 to V4. Yeah.
Yeah, but so people are bound to take impermanent loss because they have to migrate.
Well, don't really want to get too technical, but from what I understand, it's a case of applying a hook that's going to set some rules, and to be able to implement the hook for the position that you're going to set, you need to pull out. You don't need to. Technically, you will. Yeah. Andrew, can you mute yourself, because I don't think your open mic's causing a lot of driving noise. Thanks. Yeah. No, because V3 and V4 are range bound anyway, you can withdraw your liquidity on V3 and apply it to the same range on V4 with the same level of tokens. So you won't get any shift in the balance of tokens moving from V3 to V4, because they're both range bound.
Yeah, that was my question. Okay, awesome.
Pulling out the same range, going back into the same range, all you're doing is setting the hook address into your new position. We're waiting for the instructions to come out, but that's my take.
But there is a taxable event there. I'm not sure if that was the question, but yeah, there is a
right.
So
Okay, all right.
And just one final point on there, just again, very minor point, but they're currently V4 pools. It's just the temporary ones didn't have the hooks attached. So it's not going from V3 to V4. It's actually just going from the temporary V4 pools to the ones that have the hook attached V4 pools.
Uh-huh.
But to Ty's point, again, if you're doing that migration within a 5 or 10 minute span, the impermanent loss that you're gonna have is going to be minimal, because if you pick the same ranges and you're using the same liquidity, it should be minimal. But to Mike's point, there may be a taxable event depending on what region you are globally and whatever tax implications you have within that geography.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew. Okay. All right, guys. I think we're coming towards the end, so I'm going to throw it open to any sort of Q&A that we might not have on subjects we might not have covered. So does anyone got anything that needs raising?
I just have a couple comments on the spreadsheet that Ty mentioned. I've been playing around with it. I don't fully understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I put different numbers in to get different outputs, but I don't understand what the weightings are and all that stuff. So we may need to do a separate call on that. And then we want to designate the weightings for the hook, because that spreadsheet there's zero common sense to it. So at least from my perspective. So if you guys understand it, maybe you can walk me through it.
Yeah, well, I think there's value in getting a call pretty quickly, because with the way things are moving, Marcus is talking about putting the whole thing together over the next 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah,
So
I can stay on after this meeting if you want.
Yeah, that would be useful, I think.
If you want to carry on when we finish the official meeting,
I can certainly run you through it. Andrew's driving, Mike, so it may be a bit difficult. But I can walk you through the spreadsheet, and we can.
Yeah, if you want to do that and carry on after, then fine. I'm going to have to run to get a train any second to get home, so I might leave you to it. But
but we still need to coordinate with the council about the actual final decision. I'm happy to run Mike through the workings, but we do need to decide as a council what these weighting parameters should be.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just figure out which ones make the most sense. Let's talk after this, and then we can.
Okay, cool. Any other subjects that anyone wants to briefly touch on, because we are running out of time now? Going once.
Nothing in the chat. We're good. I answered everything earlier.
Okay. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Official meeting terminated. Follow-on meeting. Feel free to stay if you want to. Good night, everyone.